and technology. 7.1 Chandrayaan-3 soft landing. Why in the news? Chandrayaan-3 lander accomplished a soft landing on the moon's south pole. More on news. Times the spot where the Chandrayaan-3 Vikram lander made a soft landing would be named Shiv Shakti Point. Times the site where the Chandrayaan-2 lander crash landed on the moon's surface in 2019 would be known as Tiranga Point. Times August 23, the day the Chandrayaan-3 lander touched down on the lunar surface, would be celebrated as National Space Day. Times Chandrayaan-3 had 3 objectives, or accomplished: demonstration of a safe and soft landing on the lunar surface, demonstration of rover roving on the moon, or underway, conducting in situ scientific experiments. The lander and the rover, with a mission life of 1 lunar day, 14 Earth days, have scientific payloads to conduct experiments on the lunar surface. Times Chandrayaan-3 successfully underwent a hop experiment. On command, it fired the engines, elevated itself by about 40 centimeters as expected and landed safely. The success of this kickstart experiment raises hopes for future missions such as sample return missions or human missions. Key findings made by Chandrayaan-3. Times temperature. Chandra's surface thermophysical experiment, CHAST, payload on board Vikram lander measured the temperature profile of the lunar topsoil to understand the thermal behavior of the moon's surface. It was believed that the temperature could be around 20 degrees centigrade to 30 degrees centigrade on the surface, but it is 70 degrees centigrade. Times elements on the moon. Laser-induced breakdown spectroscope instrument on board Pragyan rover unambiguously confirmed the presence of sulfur on the lunar surface near the South Pole. Other elements like aluminum, L, calcium, Ca, iron, Fe, chromium, Cr, titanium, T, manganese, Mn, silicon, Si, and oxygen, were also detected. 98 www.visionias.inf.visionias.in Copyright symbol Vision IS. Times thin plasma. The Langmuir probe, an instrument that measures the properties of plasmas, finds that there is thin plasma on the surface of the moon. The discovery signifies that radio waves can easily pass through space, an important feature for communication between lunar missions. Times natural seismic activity. Recording from the Instrument for Lunar Seismic Activity, ILSA, payload indicates a possibility of a quake on the moon, but its exact nature is currently under investigation. Times crater. Chandrayaan-3 rover identified a 4-meter diameter crater on the moon's surface. Conclusion. Chandrayaan-3 represents not just a mission to the moon but a giant leap for India's space program and its contributions to our understanding of the cosmos. To know more about Chandrayaan-3, kindly refer to Article 7.1. Chandrayaan-3 of July 2023 edition of Monthly Current Affairs magazine. 7th January 2001 India's race to space. Why in the news? With the successful launch of Mars, Moon and solar missions, the Indian Space Research Organisation, ISRO, is reinforcing India's status as a rising power in space exploration. Background of space race. Times space race, an outgrowth of the mid-20th century Cold War, was a period of competition between the Soviet Union and the United States over who could conquer space exploration first. Times space research in India. Activities were initiated in India during the early 1960s. Subsequently, ISRO was established in 1969. A major landmark was the development of the first launch vehicle SLV-3, which had its first successful flight in 1980. During the 1990s, the development and operationalization of the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, PSLV, and the development of the Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle, GSLV, were significant achievements. Recent successes. Times Mars Orbiter mission or the Mangalyaan 2013, India became the first nation to reach Martian orbit in its first attempt. Times 104 satellites in one launch. In 2017, PSLV C-37 created a world record by successfully placing 104 satellites in orbit during a single launch. Times Chandrayaan-3. With the successful landing of Chandrayaan-3, India became the first country to land near Moon's south pole. 99. Emerging trends of the Indian space sector. Times growing commercialization. ISRO has been actively promoting non-governmental entities, NGE, to carry out independent space activities. For instance, InSpace has been the single window agency for promoting the NGEs and receiving proposals. Times increasing international collaborations. ISRO has signed several agreements, including the Artemis Accords, a joint lunar mission with Japan's space agency, launched the SARC satellite and collaborated on an advanced radar satellite NISA with NASA. Times focus on challenging exploration missions. India was the first Asian country to reach the Martian orbit with the Mangalyaan mission, Mars Orbiter mission, and now became the first country to soft land on the lunar's south pole. Times development of new technologies. ISRO has been working on developing new technologies such as reusable launch vehicles and inflatable aerodynamic decelerator, IAD. Times expansion of satellite-based services. ISRO provides satellite-based services in areas such as remote sensing, satellite-based navigation, and satellite-based meteorology, and is looking to expand these services in the future. Implication of India's enhanced role in space exploration. Times geopolitical significance. With Russia fading away as a space superpower, India's rising capabilities to engage, innovate, and support a commercial space will allow it to become one of the world's leading producers of space technology. Times India as a space startup hub. India has become home to almost 150 registered space tech startups that will enable the Indian space program to remain cost competitive within the global space market. Times leading nation for satellite launches, with a success rate of almost 95%, India has the required provisions, evolving infrastructure, and young talented minds to master this cusp of space technology and evolve into a global leader in the sector. ISRO's Small Satellite Launch Vehicle, SSLV, will further aid in this. Times outer space use for national security, China's anti-satellite, ASAT, capability has provided the impetus for India to develop and test its own ASAT capability. Conclusion. Overall, the Indian space sector is poised for growth in the coming years, with a focus on cost-effectiveness, self-reliance, and international collaborations. Some space startups in India. Times Skyroot Aerospace, first Indian startup to launch a private rocket, Vikram S, from India. Times Agnikul Cosmos, it has successfully conducted the flight acceptance test for its 3D printed rocket engine, Agnilet. Agnikul has also unveiled India's first privately designed and operated rocket launchpad and mission control center. Times Pixels, building a constellation of hyperspectral Earth imaging satellites and the analytical tools to mine insights from that data. Times Dhruva Space, it offers satellites coupled with Earth stations and launch services as an integrated solution or individually as a technology solution. 100 WW 7.2 Superconductivity. Why in the news? Recently, the claims of material LK99 depicting the room temperature superconductivity proved inconsistent. More about the news. Times earlier, a group of South Korean scientists published 2 research papers claiming that they had discovered the room temperature superconductivity phenomena in a material called LK99. 101 www.visionias.inf.visionias.in. Science and research, utilized in accelerators and nuclear magnetic resonance, NMR, for various experiments like the Large Hadron Collider. 7.3 News in Shorts. 7th March 2001 India Stack. Times India signed Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, with Trinidad and Tobago on sharing India Stack. Times MOU aims to facilitate adoption of customized India Stack solutions, identity, data, and payment services for mutual digital advancement. India has also signed MOUs with several other nations including Papua New Guinea, Armenia, Sierra Leone, Suriname etc. to share India Stack. Times India Stack is a set of open APIs, application program interface, and digital public goods that aim to unlock economic primitives of identity, data, and payments at a population scale. API is a set of defined rules that enable different applications to communicate with each other. Times components of India Stack are owned and maintained by different agencies. For X, Aadhaar products are owned by UIDAI, DigiLocker by MateY, UPI by National Payments Corporation of India, Account Aggregator Framework by RBI etc. Times significance of India Stack. It allows governments, businesses, startups etc. to move towards presence-less, paperless, and cashless service delivery. Allows significant synergies across digital economy and expands access to digital services to all citizens. Boost innovation and entrepreneurship, particularly in emerging techs like AI and machine learning by providing equitable access to data. 7th March 2002 Release of radioactive water. Times the 1.34 million tons of treated radioactive water from 2011 earthquake and tsunami hit Fukushima nuclear plant is to be released into the Pacific Ocean after 12 years. As per International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, discharges of the treated water would have a negligible radiological impact to people and the environment. Tokyo Electric Power Company, TEPCO, nuclear plants operator, has been designated to execute the plan. Fukushima plant is located on the country's east coast, about 220 kilometers northeast of capital Tokyo. Times Japan claims to have used advanced liquid processing system to treat the water stored. ALPS is a pumping and filtration system removes most of the radioactive materials from water. Nobel Prizes received for research in superconductivity. Times Heike Kamerlingh Onnes, 1913 for his discovery of superconductivity in 1911. Times John Bardeen, Leon Cooper, and Robert Schrieffer, 1972 for their development of the Braden-Cooper and Schrieffer's theory, BCS theory, which explained the mechanism of superconductivity in conventional superconductors. Times Brian D. Josephson, Leo Askey and Ivor Java, 1973 for their prediction of the Josephson effect, observed in superconducting materials. Times Pyotr Leonidovich Kapitsa, 1978 for his basic inventions and discoveries in the area of low-temperature physics. Times K. Alexander Mueller and J. Joel Bednorz, 1987 for their discovery of high-temperature superconductivity in copper oxide, cuprate, materials. 103 www.visionias.in. 7th March 2007 Low-pungent mustard. Times Indian researchers developed the first ever low-pungent mustard using genome editing, GE. Times new mustard variety is less pungent as it has lesser quantity of glucosinolate at par with the canola quality limit, 30 parts per million or ppm dry weight. Glucosinolates is a group of sulfur and nitrogen containing compounds contributing giving characteristic pungency to mustard products. It protects plants from invading pathogens, animals, etc. However, high glucosinolates make it unpalatable and causes goiter and internal organ abnormalities in livestock. Indian mustard, Brassica juncei, contains 120 to 130 ppm of glucosinolates. Times it is produced through gene editing of Varuna, a high-yielding Indian mustard variety, using CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing technology. Times unlike GMOs, gene editing incorporates modification of existing genetic material to improve the quality. Genetically modified organisms, GMO, have transgene, foreign genes, for improvement in quality. Dara Mustard Hybrid 11, DMH11, is a GM variant of mustard developed in India. Times GE crops require clearance only from the Institutional Biosafety Committee, IBSC, of concerned institution. IBSC has a nominee from Department of Biotechnology. GM crops require clearance from the Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee of the Ministry of Environment, Forest, and Climate Change. 7th March 2008 Einstein Cross. Times astronomers discovered a rare example of an Einstein cross. Times Einstein cross is a specific case of gravitational lensing. This phenomenon occurs when massive objects distort and magnify light from objects behind them, such as a galaxy or a quasar, acting as cosmic telescopes and making distant galaxies appear brighter. Or in case of Einstein cross, curvature of spacetime around a foreground object splits light behind it into four, like the points of a cross. Or another case of gravitational lensing, Einstein rings, are produced when two galaxies are almost perfectly aligned, one behind the other. Times Einstein's theory of general relativity describes how massive objects warp the fabric of universe, called spacetime. O greater the mass of an object, the more extreme the warping of space it causes, so a star warps spacetime more than a planet, and a black hole warps it more than a star. O Sun, Earth and all other bodies formed similar curvatures around them, which was why smaller objects got pulled towards them. Times extremely massive celestial bodies also curved the path of light passing through it and simply act as gravitational lenses. 7th March 2009 Space debris. Times Indian Space Research Organisation, ISRO, rocket debris found on Australian shore. Times space debris encompasses both natural, meteoroid, and artificial, man-made, particles. Meteoroids are in orbit about the Sun, while most artificial debris is in orbit about the Earth. Or Russia, followed by USA, China and France are top contributor to space debris. Or in 2021, a large chunk of a 25-ton Chinese rocket fell into Indian Ocean. Times impact of space debris or threat to marine life, and a source of pollution. Or thousands of discarded launch vehicles float around in space, risking collision with satellites or space station. 105 WW light-years from Earth in constellation Eridanus. Or it resembles the shape of a cloud, comprised of many tiny stars all clumped together. Times HST, launched in 1990, is collaboration between NASA and European Space Agency. Or it observes the universe in visible, near-infrared light, and ultraviolet light. Or it orbits above Earth's atmosphere, which gives it a better view of universe than telescopes have at ground level. 7th March 2015 Nirakshi. Times India launched its first of its kind autonomous underwater vehicle, AUV, named Nirakshi. Or it can be used for mine detection, mine disposal, underwater surveys etc. Or it has an endurance of 4 hours and can go up to 300 meters deep. Times it is a collaboration of Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers, GRSE, Ltd and MSME Entity Aerospace Engineering Private Ltd, AEPL. 7th March 2016 Ayushman Bharat Microset Project. Times Mizoram became the first state to operationalize Ayushman Bharat's Microset project. Times Microset is a cluster of all small and medium-scale clinics, nursing homes, hospitals, preferably. Times types of facilities under a Microset. Or private facilities such as standalone clinics, polyclinics, etc. Or health facilities and health professionals from all the systems of medicine. Times implementation by state mission directors of ABDM, while the financial resources and overall guidance would be provided by NHA. Times Microsets will counter the challenges of ABDM adoption faced by private hospitals like or digitization is seen as an additional cost, or fear of increased regulatory scrutiny, or issue with data security. 7th March 2017 Promotion of Research and Innovation in Pharma MEDTECH Sector, PRIPE. Times Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers notifies Scheme for Promotion of Research and Innovation in Pharma Medtech Sector, PRIPE. Times Key highlights aim to promote industry-academia linkage for R&D in priority areas and to inculcate culture of quality research. Duration, 5 years, 2023 to 24 to 2027 to 28. 2 components: strengthening research infrastructure by setting up centers of excellence at the National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, NIPERs. Small black square 7 NIPERs have been set up as institutes of national importance for higher education and high-end research in pharmaceutics. Promotion of research in pharma medtech sector in 6 priority areas. These include new chemical biological entities and phytopharmaceuticals, complex generics and biosimilars, precision medicine, medical devices, orphan drugs, drug development for AMR. Eligibility: any company registered in India. Project appraisal and approval, a committee under the chairpersonship of Secretary, Pharmaceuticals Monitoring and Evaluation, an empowered committee under the chairmanship of CEO Niti Aayog. 107 death. Times Key findings: with every 1% rise in PM2.5 pollution, there is an increase in antibiotic resistance between 0.5 and 1.9%, depending on pathogen. Or in 2018, PM2.5 caused loss of 18.2 million years of life, resulting in economic burden. Or China and India have greatest impact on premature death toll due to changes in PM2.5. Times steps taken to curb AMR, National Action Plan on AMR 2017, Red Line Campaign on Antibiotics 2016, AMR Surveillance Network 2013 etc. 7th March 1921 G20 welcomes global initiatives to curtail AMR. Times Global Antibiotic Research and Development Partnership, GARD. It is a non-profit organization created by WHO and others to tackle antibiotic resistance. It accelerates the development and access of treatments for drug-resistant infection. Times Secure, the first dedicated mechanism to expand access in LMICs to essential antibiotics, which goes beyond access to single products. It is being developed by the WHO and GARD. Times Combating Antibiotic-Resistant Bacteria, GARB-X, a global non-profit partnership to accelerate antibacterial innovation. 7th March 1922 G20 Pandemic Fund. Times Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying will receive a $25 million grant under Pandemic Fund for Strengthening Animal Health System of India. Fund will support Animal Health Security Strengthening in India for Pandemic Preparedness and Response Initiative. Times G20 Pandemic Fund $1.4 billion fund was launched in 2022 under G20 presidency of Indonesia, aims to finance critical investments to tackle the next global pandemic. Donors, G20 and non-G20 members, philanthropic organizations. India is one of the major donors of the fund. 7th March 1923 Chromodomain helicase DNA binding protein 1 like, CHD1L. Times a study has revealed that CHD1L gene variant is likely to control human immunodeficiency virus, HIV. Times a variant of CHD1L gene is specifically present in African population. CHD1L gene variant has been linked to reduced viral load, amount of HIV in blood, of HIV1, most common. The gene variant CHD1L is found on chromosome 1. People carrying this variant in their body had lower risk of spreading the virus and also had slowed progress of their own illness. 7th March 1924 Respiratory Syncytial Virus, RSV. Times US Food and Drug Administration approved the first vaccine, Abrysvo, RSV vaccine, that protects newborns. Vaccine is given to pregnant mothers during latter stages of their pregnancies. Times RSV is a highly contagious virus that causes respiratory infections in individuals of all age groups, especially infants and elderly. It is the most frequent cause of lower respiratory tract diseases in infants worldwide. RSV vaccine is also available for people at 60 and older. 109. Death. Times key findings. With every 1% rise in PM2.5 pollution, there is an increase in antibiotic resistance between 0. 7th March 1921 G20 welcomes global initiatives to curtail AMR. Times Global Antibiotic Research and Development Partnership, GARD. It is a non-profit organization created by WHO and others to tackle antibiotic resistance. It accelerates the development and access of treatments for drug-resistant infection. Times Secure, the first dedicated mechanism to expand access in LMICs to essential antibiotics, which goes beyond access to single products. It is being developed by the WHO and GARD. Times Combating Antibiotic-Resistant Bacteria, GARB-X, a global non-profit partnership to accelerate antibacterial innovation. 7th March 1922 G20 Pandemic Fund. Times Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying will receive a $25 million grant under Pandemic Fund for Strengthening Animal Health System of India. Fund will support Animal Health Security Strengthening in India for Pandemic Preparedness and Response Initiative. Times G20 Pandemic Fund $1.4 billion fund was launched in 2022 under G20 presidency of Indonesia, aims to finance critical investments to tackle the next global pandemic. Donors, G20 and non-G20 members, philanthropic organizations. India is one of the major donors of the fund. 7th March 1923 Chromodomain helicase DNA binding protein 1 like, CHD1L. Times a study has revealed that CHD1L gene variant is likely to control human immunodeficiency virus, HIV. Times a variant of CHD1L gene is specifically present in African population. CHD1L gene variant has been linked to reduced viral load, amount of HIV in blood, of HIV1, most common. The gene variant CHD1L is found on chromosome 1. People carrying this variant in their body had lower risk of spreading the virus and also had slowed progress of their own illness. 7th March 1924 Respiratory Syncytial Virus, RSV. Times US Food and Drug Administration approved the first vaccine, Abrysvo, RSV vaccine, that protects newborns. Vaccine is given to pregnant mothers during latter stages of their pregnancies. Times RSV is a highly contagious virus that causes respiratory infections in individuals of all age groups, especially infants and elderly. It is the most frequent cause of lower respiratory tract diseases in infants worldwide. RSV vaccine is also available for people at 60 and older. 109 www.visionias. 7th March 1921 G20 welcomes global initiatives to curtail AMR. Times Global Antibiotic Research and Development Partnership, GARD. It is a non-profit organization created by WHO and others to tackle antibiotic resistance. It accelerates the development and access of treatments for drug-resistant infection. Times Secure, the first dedicated mechanism to expand access in LMICs to essential antibiotics, which goes beyond access to single products. It is being developed by the WHO and GARD. Times Combating Antibiotic-Resistant Bacteria, GARB-X, a global non-profit partnership to accelerate antibacterial innovation. 7th March 1922 G20 Pandemic Fund. Times Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying will receive a $25 million grant under Pandemic Fund for Strengthening Animal Health System of India. Fund will support Animal Health Security Strengthening in India for Pandemic Preparedness and Response Initiative. Times G20 Pandemic Fund $1.4 billion negative. Times US scientists achieve net energy gain, negative, for second time in nuclear fusion reaction. Times nuclear fusion is the process by which two light atomic nuclei combine to form a single heavier one while releasing massive amounts of energy. Fusion reactions occur in a state of matter called plasma, hot, charged gas made of positive ions and free-moving electrons. In fusion, two positive nuclei have to come close to each other. However, they repel each other. This phenomenon is called the Coulomb barrier. To overcome this barrier, massive energy is required, which is presently more than the energy generated from the fusion reaction. Times negative, critical for commercial fusion power, implies that researchers could generate more energy than the nuclear fusion process consumed. India is part of the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, ITER, project to demonstrate negative from fusion reactors. India has also constructed its indigenous tokamak Aditya and semi-indigenous steady-state superconducting tokamak, SST-1. Times significance of nuclear fusion. Clean and safe power as it releases no greenhouse gases. 1 kilogram fusion fuel provides as much energy as 10 million kilograms of fossil fuel. Hydrogen, raw material for fusion, is available in abundance while fission uses uranium, which is not an infinite resource. 7th March 1926 Demon particle. Times researchers claimed to have spotted demon particle in the metal strontium ruthenate. Times demon particle was first predicted by physicist David Pines in 1956. Times David Pines believed that electrons would behave strangely when passed through a solid. If enough energy is supplied to the system, electrons can form composite particles known as plasmons. But the energy required to produce plasmons is so high that they cannot be produced at room temperature. Times Pines' demon is an exception to this as it is massless, has no charge and does not interact with light, so it would require no extra energy to be formed. 7th March 1927 Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar, SSB, Awards. Times SSB Award was not announced for 2021 and nominations for 2023 year were also stopped. Times SSB Awards are awarded annually for outstanding research, applied or fundamental, in 7 disciplines, i.e., biological sciences, chemical sciences, earth, atmosphere, ocean and planetary sciences, engineering sciences, mathematical sciences, medical sciences, and physical sciences. Times eligibility. Any citizen of India engaged in research up to age of 45 years, overseas citizen of India, OCI, and persons of Indian origin working in India. Times Dr. Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar, founder director of Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, was awarded Padma Vibhushan in 1954. 7th March 1928 Lunar Codex. Times the Lunar Codex is a digitized, or miniaturized, collection of contemporary art, poetry, magazines, music, film, podcasts and books by 30,000 artists, writers, musicians and filmmakers in 157 countries. Times it is made up of 4 different time capsules to be launched on Moon. The Orion Collection, launched and returned to Earth in 2022 via NASA Artemis 1, Orion spacecraft. The Nova Collection. The Peregrine Collection. The Polaris Collection. Times launched via NASA Artemis Commercial Lunar Payload Services, CLPS, program partners to the Moon. 110 www.visionias.inf.visionias.in. 7th March 1929 GoVision, Krishi Rasta, platform. Times it is an Internet of Things, IoT, based automated soil testing and agronomy advisory platform, which can conduct 12 key soil parameter tests, like pH value, electrical conductivity, etc. Times it can immediately send the summary of results in a soil health card to mobile devices and will help to quickly identify the deficiencies. Times developed by ICAR, Indian Council of Agricultural Research, Indian Institute of Rice Research, Hyderabad and Krishi Tantra, an agritech startup. 111